In a dark and mysterious place, we see a statue in the middle of a lake, and in front of it, a man was reciting a chant. He prays, saying that the queen will descend to the earth and all will be reborn. He then welcomes his queen upon seeing that she had answered his prayers. She looks like she just had a little snack, seeing as she's all covered in red. Just then, a few drops fall from the woman's face and drip onto the ground. The servant asks His Majesty what her orders are now. She simply replies that it's not enough, and the servant tells her not to worry because there's plenty more on the way. The scene cuts to the city, and our main character is banging on a drum. An annoyed guard shows up asking who's making all that noise, and our boy introduces himself to him as Jikie. The guard recognizes him and asks what happened this time, since he shows up there constantly. Jikie blames the guy on the ground, who's all beaten up, and the guard is shocked by the man's condition. Our MC then starts to tell his story, saying he burned the pot and stepped in dog poop. The guard, already out of patience, tells him to stop beating around the bush and get to the point. So he continues, saying that a masked guy jumped him from behind with a club, but luckily he was on alert and threw some powder in the creep's face. And right after, he landed a couple of kicks to his family jewels, basically scrambling his eggs. And when the crook tried to fight back, our boy used the legendary brick and a pair of scissors to knock the punk out. And by the looks of this criminal, he must be an experienced thug. But the guard says that in 6 months, he's been there 31 times, bringing in wanted men. The officer advises him to just stay home, since he seems to be a trouble magnet. G asks if there's a reward, but the guard says there's nothing for now. And he adds that they're busy with disappearances and will pay him all at once later. At that moment, our protagonist hears someone calling his name. It was Tang Yi, his classmate and also his neighbor. His friend asks what happened, and Jihan says he just wanted some extra cash but didn't have much luck. Tang agrees that he's unlucky and starts listing all the terrible things that have happened to him. Jihan says all of this happens for a reason, and his curious friend asks what it is. And our MC thinks to himself that he has a totally OP hack ability. He explains that 1 year ago, the legendary Trucksama sent him to this world, and he got a power to accumulate insight. The more time he accumulates, the stronger his understanding gets, but his bad luck also increases at the same rate. And now his accumulation bar has turned red, which means his bad luck is at max level. To cheer his friend up, Tang Yi offers him some tofu pudding, and our opportunistic boy immediately asks for 8 bowls. As they walk, they see several posters of missing people scattered around the city. Jay asks if the disappearances are serious, and Tang confirms it has to do with a cult that promises immortality. Our protagonist thinks this whole immortality story is a huge scam and that it's better to just enjoy life. Suddenly, he has a flashback and remembers something important. He remembers his great aunt talking about the cult and how she tried to kick him out of the house to give it to her son. Tang Yi doesn't even wait for him to finish speaking and just leaves, letting his friend talk to himself. Our boy then sighs and opens the door to his house, completely exhausted. But as soon as he opens the door, a bunch of talismans fly out, and the papers hit him square on, knocking the poor guy to the ground. He gets scared, afraid it might be an ambush, but as he gets up, he notices all the talismans scattered around. He is then surprised to see that the mysterious papers are coming from the well in his yard. Soji yells for whoever is in there to stop messing around and show themselves. Very carefully, he approaches the well to take a look inside. And what he sees leaves him in complete shock. In the water's reflection, a hideous creature with red eyes is staring back at him. The bizarre creature then gives a macabre smile. At that moment, our terrified boy lets out a scream. But despite the shock, he recognizes the figure and asks if it's his great aunt. The creature flies out of the well and lands right in front of our boy. Jihan is terrified by the bizarre scene. Then our protagonist asks his aunt if she quit being human. The hideous creature mutters the word house, and then lunges forward, yelling that the house is for her son. Our protagonist is terrified by his aunt's sudden attack. The force of the blow sends the young man flying. He then tries to calm his aunt down, telling her to talk things out. But the creature doesn't even listen and keeps repeating that the house is for her son. Jai then gets up and shouts angrily that the house is his. At that moment, the aunt becomes even more bizarre and shows her giant tongue. Tired of this nonsense, the boy pulls out his legendary brick and throws the object with all his might, but the monster manages to dodge it. However, it seems this was all part of his plan. The brick hits the corner of the wall and changes direction, and smacks the monster right in the head. After that, he prepares to use a technique he learned when he fell into the water. With his dry swimming technique, the boy glides across the ground toward the monster. He then lands a sweep kick and manages to slide under the beast. The creature feels the hit and is surprised. It then loses its balance and falls flat on the ground. Jibei then whips out 2 wooden mallets and prepares for his attack. He then starts wailing on the creature without a shred of mercy. But even while getting beaten, the aunt keeps screaming that the house is for her son. The boy leaps into the air with his mallet ready to finish the fight, and lands a powerful blow right in the middle of the monster's head. The hit is so strong that the creature goes flying through the air. The scene cuts to Tang, who was relaxing at his house, and he sees something flying by and wonders if that was his friend's aunt. Back to our MC, he reflects on how quickly his aunt changed because of the cult, and realizes his problems have escalated from common thugs to bizarre creatures. and now he fears being captured by the cult and ending up a monster too. With this, he decides he can't accumulate any more insight because something really bad could happen. So at night in his room, he grabs some martial arts books he got, and even though he doesn't know if they're legit, he decides to test them out. He then chooses one of the books and uses his accumulated insight ability. At that moment, the book opens, and a golden energy starts to flow out of it. Our protagonist then absorbs all the martial arts knowledge in an instant. The energy then expands throughout the entire room. He then closes his eyes and concentrates to absorb all the information. And by meditating, he manages to completely master the new technique. At the end of the process, he opens his eyes a little confused and thinks that he managed to learn the technique but feels a strange energy in his body. Suddenly, he senses a dark presence and starts to hear a malevolent chant. He then realizes the Wind Lotus cult has finally arrived, and just like last time, several talismans start flying around, and one of the papers then hits him square on. Our protagonist gets angry and complains that the cult has no respect since he just cleaned the yard. But as he holds the talisman, he feels a strange energy coming from the dark chant, and he realizes the writings on the papers are poisonous to the mind. To protect himself, he uses the golden energy he gained from learning the new technique. With a Tai Chi move, he repels the talismans, creating a protective barrier. He then notices that the extra energy in his body is helping him keep his mind clear. And with this protection, he's able to resist the sound of the chant that's trying to control him. The voice in his head tries to seduce him with promises of becoming an immortal. But even with the temptation, he stands firm and continues to resist the cult's power. After a while, his golden energy wins, and the chanting finally stops. He then thinks that luckily he learned Tai Chi, otherwise he would have met the same fate as his aunt. The next day in the city, everything seems normal. Our protagonist then finds his friend Tang, who looks like he didn't sleep a wink, and he complains that a mysterious chant kept him up all night. Jai then reveals that the sound came from the Wind Lotus cult. Tang asks if the protagonist's aunt came back, and he lies, saying she gave up on the house. He then asks how he knows that, and Tang says he heard strange screams coming from his house. Our protagonist is outraged that his friend heard his screams and didn't come to help. Tang defends himself, reminding him of the time they ran into a tiger and Ji ditched him to fight it alone. Our protagonist is left speechless and ends up asking for a bowl of tofu to change the subject. The two then place their tofu orders, one savory and one sweet. The stall owner complains that business is slow because so many people have joined the cult. He says he doesn't believe the cult's promises and that the situation in the city is getting worse and worse. Jai then asks about the government, and the man says they know but aren't doing anything. As he turns around, the protagonist sees a reward poster on the wall, and the stall owner explains they're offering 50 silver coins for information about the missing people. Upon hearing the reward amount, our boy's eyes light up. Tang then calls him a mercenary, but Jioi plays it off, saying he just wants to help. And he asks his friend to tell their teacher he's sick and won't be in class. And before Tang can protest, our protagonist is already running off in search of the reward. After 3 days of searching, the protagonist finds no clues about the missing people. He then suspects that the Wind Lotus cult is behind everything. Suddenly, a few cloaked figures appear in front of him, and he immediately goes on alert. The cult members then start staring him down, and Ji recognizes the malevolent aura he felt before, and he realizes his lucky streak is over and the bad luck is coming back with a vengeance. He then tries to escape but ends up stepping in dog poop. Realizing his bad luck is back, he decides it's time to bounce, and says that at least the talisman is good for cleaning his shoe. The leader tells them to ignore the kid, saying they have more important things to do. Our protagonist then decides to go home and continue the search the next day. On his way, he hears two sad children talking about their missing father. One of them says their mom told them their dad isn't coming home anymore, but the other doesn't believe it and says his dad still promised him candy. Moved by the story, the protagonist fills with rage and decides he's done playing nice with the Wind Lotus cult, and he decides he's going to put an end to this evil cult once and for all. He starts to smell something pleasant. His friend Tang is having a little barbecue and complaining that the food isn't any good. Suddenly, our protagonist appears on the roof and offers to cook for him instead. His friend accuses him of being a freeloader, but Ji defends himself, saying he brought them some tiger bone wine. His classmate then asks if he found the missing people, and the young man says not yet, but he won't give up the search. Curious, his classmate asks why he wants the money so badly, and our protagonist says he's saving up to travel. Tang is surprised by the answer and asks if he's planning to leave town, and he says he has an arranged marriage with a girl from another city.